the Keltec Sub 2000 Gen 2. Let's check it out. Keltec has been very successful with the Sub 2000. There's just nothing else on the market that's quite like it. I mean, it's a definite breakdown model, not necessarily takedown, because the rifle stays together. It stays at 16.5 inches when folded, which makes it really compact. One of the great things about this is that even though it's a pistol caliber carbine, it can be readily stowed either in your vehicle, a backpack, a bug out bag, a lot of different options. It's really a niche type rifle, but if you're like me and you're a little bit on the prepper mindset, this is definitely a great option. And one of the things about a rifle or carbine is that you have a lot more ability to be able to reach out to farther distance targets. You know, you can shoot this rifle up to 100 yards, but really it's mostly effective between 50 and 75 yards out there. Try to do that with a pistol accurately, and you're really going to be hard pressed to do so. With a little carbine like this, it really gets decent accuracy. Now, one of the biggest advantages of the Keltec Sub 2000 is this: bringing it down to a very small package. This is a pistol caliber carbine. It's a 9mm or 40 Smith & Wesson. This is the Gen 2, which there's a lot of improvements over the original Gen 1. But one of the big things about the Sub 2000 is the availability. It has taken me a really long time to be able to acquire a Sub 2000. In fact, I paid really a lot more than they're typically going for when they're available. I think I paid about $5.50 with shipping and everything else. These really should come in about $480, $490, something like that, as far as where I'm seeing them. So we're going to take a look at the Sub 2000 and what this thing is all about. Why in the world you'd want something that folds up into such a small package and yet deploys really quickly. First thing we're going to do is drop the magazine, check the chamber, and it's empty. As you can see, it's a little unorthodox with a charging handle back here at the stock. And it's a blowback action, and that means that the gases that once the cartridge is fired take the bolt and push it to the rear. One of the best features of the rifle is being able to bring this around into a really small package and then just slipping it into just a standard backpack. Doesn't really even have to be something that's very large. And here we can go real incognito. And still there's plenty of room. I could actually use a smaller backpack and even put it at an angle, but this is straight up and down and you've still got plenty of room. There's definitely a lot of controversy between a pistol caliber carbine versus a rifle caliber. And definitely the advantages of a rifle caliber are well known. But putting a package this small together and getting the benefits of a carbine, I think this is something to really look at. But not only is the compact size great, and the fact that you're using regular factory magazines for really common pistols, if you're carrying Glock, especially if you're carrying the Glock 19 or 26 even, your backup mags should at least be 17 round magazines. They do make models that actually have a shorter pistol grip that will allow for the G19 magazines. And there are a lot of guys that will actually trim this down to be able to get it in there. But Keltec didn't stop just with a Glock. They also make models that will fit the Smith & Wesson Model 59. They're developing the M&P magazine compatibility. And then they have the Beretta 92 models, and then they have the SIG 226 models. One of the big things that the Gen 2 did was it has some adjustments with the stock and the length of pull. And you have 3 different places that you can set this. With the Gen 1, it was actually it was a little bit farther than the shortest that you can use for this. But because the stock configuration, it was a little bit harder to get on sights. And with this stock, it allows you to be able to see your sights without really pressing down onto this bar. Now there's a standard sling attachment here for 1.5 inch slings. And then if you have a quick release, you can actually just pop it into this little hole here. So it gives you a couple of different options to be able to use. Also, there's a little Picatinny rail here at the bottom of the stock. And with this small little latch right here, this is the catch that actually holds the barrel together. And so this is going to lock up good and solid. All you have to do is pull back and release. On the Gen 1, it was a push button. Could be a little finicky at times, but this makes it really quick to be able to deploy this. The charging handle does reciprocate, so it goes back and forth like this when you're firing. Right here's a little notch. You can bring it back, lift it up, and place it in that notch. Very much like your HK. If you want to load the magazine, you just hit it, and then it'll drive one of the rounds forward, ready to fire. This is a little bit of a pull, and it takes some strength to get that back. The way I found is to really just get a good grip on the rifle, and it's not that difficult. The finish is a nitride finish. It's impervious to weather. It's very slick. Again, an improvement over the bluing that was on the original. Plus, the finish on the plastic itself, or the Zytail. This is a glass reinforced Zytail polymer, and it has a really smooth, slick finish. It's one of the things about the Kel-Tec originally that I just didn't like was the roughness of the polymer. And they seem to have really done a good job of finishing that off, but it does have enough texturing with the different points right here to be able to get it. The mag release right here, lift it down. It is for drop-free mags, so your mags will come out pretty easily. Of course, this is one of the 17-round Glock mags. Take one of the 33-round mags and it goes in just fine. And this functions really well. In fact, we probably shot about 500 rounds through this rifle and with zero malfunctions. The trigger guard comes down, and that's what allows you to break the rifle down. Your front sight will recess into the action, just like this. One of the great things about this too is once you break this down, it is completely safe. The firing pin and bolt are right here inside, and your chamber's up here. So there's no way that this is going to be able to fire if you have it in this position. Here you can see the lockup, good and solid. Now they have improved the fore-end dramatically. For one thing, it's a lot thinner, smaller. It's very narrow with Picatinny rails on bottom and on top, and then M-lock slots right here, 5 on each side. I think some of the originals, you really couldn't do anything to them. I mean, it was what it was. You had to adjust and adapt and improvise and everything else. But this really makes it easy to apply accessories to it. Now, speaking of which, there are a lot of companies that make aftermarket parts for these Kel-Tecs, the Gen 1 and now the Gen 2. So there's a lot of aftermarket support for these rifles. Now the trigger pull is not that great. In fact, I was checking it out. It was about 10 to 11 pounds with my trigger gauge. It's a good long snap, and then, I mean, it's really stacking, and then there we go. So this trigger pull is not optimal. I know they do make different spring kits. There's companies out there that do some things for it. When you're at the range shooting, you don't notice the trigger pull that much. Once you have it at the range, you're shooting, you're not so concentrated on that, and it just seems to do just fine. Here's the safety. It's just one of the cross bolt push safeties. Push it toward the left and you're on safe, out to fire, and it is outlined in red, which to me is very intuitive. Because when I'm getting ready to, I've got my hand here, I can just take the safety off, I'm ready to go. Then when I finish, just bring it up and put it on safety. One of the things about this too is it doesn't have a last round bolt hold open, which most of your blowback designs don't. So unless you're going to lock it right here into the tube, that's the only bolt hold open you're going to have. Now another big plus with the Gen 2 is that it has a 40% increase with the ejection port over the Gen 1. And again, I found zero malfunctions when I was using American Eagle 115 grain full metal jacket. Now the rear sight is just a little aperture sight. It's not the best. In fact, it's polymer. But it does fit the way it's designed to be able to fit and to be able to fold. It's one of the things I'd probably like to see is maybe a metal sight here that has a little more adjustability. But you know, that's the way this was designed. Now, one of the big advantages of Gen 2 over Gen 1 is the metal front sight. More AR-15 style. It has the standard AR-15 post and can be adjusted with an AR-15 M16 sight tool or the tip of a bullet. And this is really a vast improvement. I really like the black over the fiber optic type sight that they had before, because it was very hard to pick up. Plus, it was a circular guard here, and this is open. The adjustments for the sight, the windage is right here, and you click it to the direction you want to move the sight. And there's actually 6 clicks per rotation. You can use a coin or whatever with that, and it's pretty large. Then there's a set screw right here to hold the front sight in. It does have a threaded barrel with a protector, and it's 1/2 by 28 thread, so this will fit any of your standard thread pitch, but you need to make sure that it is 9mm and not 22 caliber. And so there's a lot of different options, of course, with suppressors, different muzzle brakes, and things like that. One of the big issues, though, that's come up, or controversies with this sight, is that it can actually shift. Because this is actually threaded onto the barrel, and then the thread protector is put on. This set screw should hold it, but the original Gen 2s were having a lot of issues with sight shift. Nothing Fancy really brought that out in his full review. But one of the things that I've read a number of places is that Keltec addressed that. Now, I've done a lot of research, and I'm not sure how they addressed it, except that they put thread locker to hold this into place. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a really solid sight. I haven't taken the thread protector off, but I have on order a muzzle brake to go on here just to check it out, and hopefully I'll put on the suppressor too. Now, right here is a set screw that actually holds in your sight post. It is recommended not to touch this, and so just make sure you keep that into place. Also, you never want to remove the windage screw, because there are some small springs and detents in here that can be a real challenge to get back into place. So as far as it goes right now, we're going to see how it goes, but I haven't had any problems, and again, I've shot about 500 rounds through this rifle. Now, the barrel length is 16¼ inches. It is a nitride finish on the barrel as well, plus the interior of the barrel is also nitride finish, which is going to add life. I mean, there's a lot of lubricity with the nitrides, really slick, and definitely corrosion resistant. Now, the overall length, fully extended, is 29½ inches. Once you break it down into a small package like this, it's 16¼ inches. With the grip, including the stock, it's only a 7-inch difference. So it is a really thin, small package. And again, this excels as a compact hideaway gun. With that being said, one of the things about a rifle barrel, with even 9mm, is that you're going to get increased velocity because of the barrel. In fact, 9mm with Spear Gold Dot, this size pistol, is getting about 460 foot-pounds of pressure. With a 16-inch rifle, you're getting about 520 foot-pounds. Velocity with a handgun is 1,239 feet per second. With a rifle barrel, it's 1,391 feet per second with a 16-inch barrel. So you're getting some increased ballistics with the rifle or the carbine compared to a pistol. I want to thank Federal Premium for the American Eagle. With those 30-round magazines, this ammunition goes quick. And I'll tell you guys, this is such a lot of fun to shoot. So compact, and yet with that extra barrel, you're getting a little bit of more velocity out of that 9mm. Now at the range, this carbine is very well balanced. In fact, most of the weight is here toward the back because you've got all your bolt and carrier and everything here at the back of the rifle. And so it allows for you to really be able to balance it. Now, one of the trade-offs is that you will get a little more muzzle rise because this is so lightweight out front. Now, a lot of the features, though, that this is incorporated over the Gen 1 really makes this a lot more fun to shoot at the range. Now here I have a few accessories attached, and here is one of the Magpul AFG 4Ns. You can get a really good grip on this. Also a Magpul little sling attachment for QD sling, an Arson machine little mount here that has M-LOK, and then a Claris XT11S. The Vortex Spark 2, and then I have one of the American Defense QD mounts. Now, one of the things about this, and a lot of guys are going to say, well, you can't close it. Well, if you take this on and off, if it retains 0 just fine. That's the big thing. But I've seen a lot of different options where they have Picatinny that are side mounts, and the scope is actually offset. And so that is a great option, but the only problem is you put Picatinny rail here, and you're not going to be able to close the stock. It'll actually interfere with the lockup. Here I can still lock it up with these accessories with the scope mounted, put the scope back in and off. Now this is just to show demonstration wise. I haven't even shot this rifle with a red dot. I know Tim at Military Arms Channel just did a review on a Midwest Industries mount that actually cants out of the way, which I think is really pretty cool. The only problem with that is there has to have a little paracord string right here to hold back the charging handle, and then when you get ready to use it, you remove that string because it'll interfere with the sight and the way the sight sits once you collapse it down. I'm not really all that thrilled about using a string, especially if I need to deploy this really quickly, or maybe I forget. But we're going to see. I've got one of those actually on order, and I'm going to check it out because I think it is a really cool system to be able to keep this really compact and closed and yet have a sight readily available. One of the things we're going to do too is we're going to do a complete overhaul on this. We're going to get a spring kit and do some work to it and see what all we can achieve, possibly with a muzzle brake, maybe even a suppressor. But we're going to do some testing with it because this is just such a fun little rifle to mess with, and I really want to get it back out to the range and get some video. Now, to break down the rifle, just double check, make sure the gun's unloaded, magazine's out. Right here is a little pin, and this is the same thing that adjusts your stock. You just want to push it through, and you'll need something to kind of help pushing in a little bit on this button in the back. It'll come right out. Next, we're going to go ahead and pull out our plug right here. Then bring back your bolt. Pull out your recoil spring. The little knob now can be pulled loose. Then just take your bolt and push it forward. And this will allow the whole bolt carrier to come out. It is 2 pieces. There's a lockup right here. And to give you a better look at how that does, it just kind of dovetails in, and then you can separate that. There's your bolt face with your firing pin, and this is just the mass that helps with the blowback action. The stock itself can just be removed if you want to, and then you can get in and clean however you want to, but that's pretty much how you field strip the firearm. Breaking it down this way, you can use a bore brush into your barrel, clean out any debris, and really simple. Reassembly, we're going to go ahead and put our stock on first. Reassemble your bolt and bolt carrier. Once you see this hole right here, you can go ahead and put in your charging handle. Bring that forward. Re-enter your recoil spring. You want to make sure your stock is lined up with the hole, so when you push this in, there'll be a clear shot all the way through. And snap it right in. One of the problems is going to be the stock's going to want to move because you're going to want to hold on to the stock. You need to hold on to the buffer tube. Then it snaps right back into place. We're going to double check for function. And we're back in business. Now, this is definitely more of a niche type firearm. It's going to fit specific purposes with your plan. This is one of the things that to me, it really fits a lot of places. Again, the big problem right now is still availability on these. Seems to be pretty difficult to get. A lot of places I checked, they're back ordered, but they are coming in. You can get the 40 caliber a lot easier than you can get the 9mm. I've seen a number of 40 calibers out there. But to me, the 9mm is really what I wanted because I typically carry a 9mm, And if I'm going to carry this rifle, I'll have my Glocks and I'll be carrying that. So again, a lot of cool options. It's not for everyone. This is something that definitely fits a niche, but I think for the niche that it fits, it's a perfect little option for bug out. Again, a boat gun, truck gun. Check all your local laws, because you don't want to get this taken from you and face some kind of charge. Now, as far as negatives of the little carbine, the front sight's definitely one of them. I hope that I can have confidence and be able to take care of any kind of situation that may come, and time will tell on that. Also, the rear sight I'm not too excited about, but again, I plan to put a red dot on here, and so hopefully we'll find how this really holds zero. As far as everything else, I really love the compactness of the gun. It's definitely a pistol caliber carbine. You know, if you want a rifle caliber carbine that'll really pack small, then Keltec does offer their SU-16, which is a neat little rifle. It takes AR-15 magazines in 5.56. Pretty much the same kind of deal, but it's one of the great things about this kind of innovation is, yes, it does fit a niche market, but it's really great to have this kind of stuff available. And I think Keltec's really done a great job. And then with the improvements and addressing a lot of the things that the Gen 1 just really failed at. So the Keltec Sub 2000 Gen 2, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Now here's a few accessory options that I just wanted to show the potential. Let me try that. The bolt. I'm going to double check for function. And, whoops, crap. It is a threaded barrel, and it is 1/2 by 50. All right, let her rip, tater chip.